Let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at the dramatic 20-year roller coaster of the historic English football club, Bolton Wanderers. It's a story that literally has it all: crazy tactical innovation, world-class superstars, devastating financial hubris, and a miraculous 11th-hour rescue. If you follow the beautiful game, you know the modern era can be incredibly unforgiving. But man, few clubs have experienced the extreme highs and rock-bottom lows quite like Bolton. Here is our game plan for today. We'll start with the rise of Big Sam, check out the stars at the Reebok, and then dig into the hubris and financial decline. After that, we'll look at the chaotic rogue chairman era, the brink of liquidation, and wrap up with the Bolton resurrection.
All right, Section 1, the rise of Big Sam. Let's get into it.
So, manager Sam Allardyce completely revolutionized this club, and he did it using early data analytics to secure promotion and Premier League stability. Get this. He actually took inspiration from American football technology. After a stint playing for the Tampa Bay Rowdies, who shared facilities with the NFL's Buccaneers, he kind of saw the future. He brought in early sports analysis software called Prozone and developed this concept of POMO, the position of maximum opportunity. He essentially used pure math to maximize set-piece scoring chances, making absolutely sure every single player was in a highly calculated spot for long throws, corners, and free kicks. It was a total game changer. He called these tactical tenets his Fantastic Four. The data told him exactly what was required for Premier League survival. First, they needed 16 clean sheets out of 38 games. Second, if they scored first, the math said they had a 70% chance of winning. Third, he knew a third of all goals came from set pieces, so they heavily capitalized on that. But here's the craziest part. The analytics proved that if his team simply outran the opposition at speeds above 5.5 meters per second, they avoided defeat 80% of the time. It was rigid, sure, but highly effective. So you might be wondering, how did this strict data-driven approach actually translate to the football played on the pitch? You'd think this purely mathematical system would result in a squad of robots, right? Zero flair. But actually, Allardyce used this rigid framework as a rock-solid foundation to accommodate some of the most gifted, unpredictable players on the planet. Which brings us to Section 2, stars at the Reebok. Look at this incredible contrast. Bolton's unfashionable, kind of industrial reputation stood in stark contrast to the literal World Cup and Champions League winners they somehow managed to recruit. Allardyce knew he couldn't compete with the massive transfer fees of the elite clubs, so he went full soccernomics. He saved money on transfer fees by targeting aging, undervalued, or out-of-contract stars and offered them high wages instead. This strategy brought absolute legends like J.J. Okocha, Yuri Djorkov, and Real Madrid icon Fernando Hierro to the Reebok Stadium. It beautifully blended breathtaking artistry with that uncompromising, data-driven physical play we just talked about. And look, these guys weren't just mercenaries looking for one last payday. The emotional connection was incredibly real. Take a look at this quote from Ivan Campo, another Real Madrid star who made the move. His heartfelt open letter to the supporters shows this genuine, deep bond between these global superstars and the local fans. These players fully bought into what Allardyce was building, helping the club secure 4 consecutive top 8 Premier League finishes and even a fantastic run in the UEFA Cup. But things take a serious turn in Section 3, hubris and financial decline. £180 million. Let that sink in. This staggering figure is the amount long-standing owner Eddie Davies, who actually made his fortune marketing kettle parts, poured into the club to bankroll those glory days. But, as we all know, you can't sustain a football club purely on the endless generosity of one guy. Eventually, that tap had to be turned off. And you can see on this chart exactly what happened when it did. By 2010, the financial foundation had completely rotted away. Net debt hit a massive £93 million, paired with a completely unsustainable £35 million financial loss for the year. This whole mess was driven by low turnover and really poor, expensive signings, like spending £15 million in fees and wages on Johan Elmander, only to watch him leave on a free transfer. Plus, they had a dangerously inflated wage bill. When the parachute payments from their 2012 relegation eventually dried up, it left a massive, gaping financial crater. That leads us right into Section 4, the rogue chairman era. Things got so bad that Forest Green Rovers owner Dale Vince publicly and bluntly condemned Bolton owner Ken Anderson, branding him a rogue chairman over his failure to pay the wages of Christian Doige, a player Bolton had taken on loan.
It really highlights how far Bolton's reputation was crumbling, to the point where other executives were openly calling out the ownership's refusal to honor basic financial commitments.
The chaos behind the scenes was absolutely visceral. We're not just talking about a few late bills here. Players went unpaid for 20 straight weeks. It reached a boiling point when the squad actually went on strike just 16 hours before a match against Brentford. And the working conditions? Literally horrific. The training ground lacked basic hot water for showers, and sometimes they didn't even have drinking water. Preseason games had to be canceled because they simply didn't have enough players to field the team. Just a total nightmare.
Moving into Section 5, the brink of liquidation.
This timeline shows just how brutal the descent was. The warning signs were flashing red by December 2015 when HMRC issued a winding up petition over unpaid taxes. This was followed by a devastating relegation to the third tier, which was a first since 1993. By 2019, amidst those player strikes we just talked about, and a nearly £200 million debt load, the club officially entered administration. They were days away from being completely expelled from the English Football League. And when you hit financial ruin in football, the ultimate penalty is devastating, a 12-point deduction to start the next season. Entering administration meant they were effectively condemned to another relegation battle before a single ball had even been kicked.
It got so incredibly bad that with only 3 senior outfield players left on the books, Bolton was forced to throw their youth academy kids to the wolves just to fulfill league fixtures. These young guys were put in impossible situations against hardened professionals, having to endure horrific, humiliating scorelines like back-to-back 5-0 defeats and a 6-1 thrashing. It was just heartbreaking for a fan base that, a little over a decade prior, was watching their team draw against Bayern Munich.
But thankfully, there is light at the end of the tunnel. Section 6, the Bolton Resurrection.
At the absolute 11th hour, the Football Ventures Consortium, aided by the Eddie Davies Trust, managed to purchase the club in August 2019. They navigated what administrators called one of the most complicated processes ever, just to save the club from liquidation. Now, while they did initially fall down to League Two, they hired Ian Avat as manager, and he orchestrated a massive turnaround, taking the team from 17th place to winning immediate promotion back to League One. And the real pinnacle of this rebirth? Winning the 2023 EFL Trophy Final 4-0 in front of a massive, revitalized fan base. Today, the club's commercial operations are rebuilt, and the community is deeply involved once again.
So, we leave you with this provocative thought. Considering the incredible tactical heights they once reached, and having survived the very brink of extinction, how soon until this historic club reclaims its rightful place in the championship and beyond? The foundations are strong, the fans are back, and the future of Bolton Wanderers is finally looking bright again. Thanks for exploring this amazing journey with me on this explainer.